welcome to today's episode. We're talking all things exit strategy, and I've invited in Heather Darnell. She's very experienced FD. She's been on the podcast before, so welcome to the show, Heather.
Thank you, Lisa.
Let's talk about selling and how to prepare for it. So what are the first steps when it comes to planning, and how far in advance should that be?
Yeah, most sales of businesses take a long time. So if you're thinking to yourself, I think in 6 months I want out of here, it's never going to happen. Yeah. If you're lucky, it takes 9 to 12 months from when you decide to do it to when the check actually clears.
Fingers crossed.
Exactly. And sometimes it's a lot longer. So it also depends if you're doing a trade sale, if you're selling to another company that does what you do, or if you're selling to private equity, that's a different kind of process entirely, or if you're going to try and sell the business to your own employees or just another person. They're all different, but I think in general you should plan from the moment you start really thinking about it. It's not going to happen for another 6 to 9 months.
And should you have the exit in mind when you're doing your business plan from early on, even in your first few years?
Well, it's a really good point. I would say most people you talk to always say they plan to sell in 5 years. They say that in the first year, they say that in their 5th year, and they say that in their 15th year.
Yeah.
So yes, it's good to think that way. And it's great if you have a predefined path of what you want to do, because you can tailor your business to make it more attractive to that ultimate exit, if that's what you're going to do. And also, there's nothing wrong with exiting your business by just shutting it down. There's some amazing tax-efficient ways to take out your retained earnings from your business. So yes, if you have an idea up front, brilliant. You can make decisions along the way that are going to make it easier for you in the end, but you don't need to be a slave to it. You can change your mind. So thinking about the first steps in getting ready for exit is you need to start thinking about how your ultimate purchaser is going to think. And guess what? They're going to do a lot of due diligence on your business. You need to start checking that you've got employment contracts signed with all your staff. You are going to want to ensure that you've got signed contracts with your customers. You're ideally going to want to see if your customer contracts allow you to assign them to someone else if someone else does buy your business. You're going to want to go through every check that someone else is going to do when they buy your business. And one of the really important reasons for doing that is part of the legal documentation when you sell is you agree and you warrant that certain things are true. And if they're not true, they've got the right to come back to you for money or whatever the case may be. So for your own sanity, you're going to want to know what you're signing up to.
Do solicitors just come and do an audit? Is there that kind of service?
It's usually a combination of solicitors and accountants. So solicitors are very good at checking your commercial contracts. It could be anything from your lease with your landlord. You know, they'll tell you what someone's expecting to see, and then you can go and find it ideally, or they can help you set it up if you don't. But also you want accountants to come in and forensically look at your accounts to say, what kind of risks are there? I've seen buyers come in and say, I see you've had an R&D tax credit for the last 4 years, and you've projected to have them in future, but is there anything risky in the R&D claims you've made? And if so, I'm going to reduce the price I'm going to offer to you.
What, in case the Inland Revenue want their money back?
Correct. But I have seen someone come in and buy a company and say, you've received £100,000 a year. We want you to redo those tax returns and give £40,000 back to HMRC and ensure that all of your future claims won't include this particular area. So yes, you want to look at all that first, because the worst thing is going to talk to someone, you think everything's great, and they come at you with all of these problems. Then you look like you don't know what you're doing. They're just going to chip the price. So if you can prepare all that in advance, it gives you a wealth of information and a great foundation to start negotiating.
Well, exactly. You've got to have the confidence to negotiate, not feel like you're being told off at school.
Yes.
And then how do you know when the right time to sell is? Because you don't want to miss the opportunity, but maybe you love working as well.
It's really hard to know what your market's going to do in the future, but some of the things you will have very good oversight of. Say you say you sell a product and you currently sell in the UK and maybe one other territory, you know that there's huge growth potential if you move into America or the rest of Europe. But in order to do so, usually requires a lot of money and a lot of time. And there's something that buyers really, really like, and that is the potential growth in the business after they've bought it. So a great time to sell is right before you move into a new market. You've got everything primed and ready, but you don't do it.
I would have thought it'd be good to have tried it and started it, but no.
It depends. If you're you can't just try to crack the US because you're just going to spend so much money and you're not going to see the returns in any short amount of time. So no, there's lots of times where it's better to leave it for someone else, but you show you've done the work and the due diligence to get it ready.
Yeah.
And together with your new buyer or with them on their own, they can take the biggest advantage of it.
And I suppose overlying that is your personal plans, because, well, so many of my clients say, I'm going to retire at 50, 55, and then I'm going to take a back seat. But usually those clients who've built these businesses aren't the type of people to take a back seat in any area of their life, let alone their business.
Yeah.
So it can be quite tricky.
It is, and your personal circumstances can also change greatly and change your mind as well. I'll give a personal example. About 5 years ago, we expanded our company quite rapidly. We hired a lot of young people, and I decided I was going to be great at training the next generation of people. And actually, it was so hard. And after doing amazing training, some of them left to get amazing jobs places, and I was so disheartened. And I thought, I don't want to continue doing this. So I really wanted to take a big step back. And we ended up finding a great kind of happy medium in that now we have some employees own some of the business. So they're driving it forward, and I can take more of a backseat.
In like the John Lewis part.
Exactly.
I think that's very good for sort of motivating the staff to feel like they've got. And did you decide in advance what percentage you'll allocate for that?
Well, yes, but like all these things, it ended up taking way longer than I thought. Mm-hmm. There was legal issues, there was all kinds of complications, and I think what I thought I was going to do on day one isn't a million miles away from what we ended up on, but it is different.
And what were the biggest, were there any shocks to doing it that you hadn't thought about or realised?
Yeah, and embarrassingly, it had to do with tax. You would have thought I would know, but it's a really esoteric area, this. There's some great structures that already exist that HMRC has put together that are really useful for people, one of which is an EMI scheme you may have heard of. Annoyingly, HMRC doesn't allow accounting firms to take advantage of it because they consider us so unrisky.
Oh.
Another great way you can do it is something called an employee benefit trust, which is a fantastic way and great tax-wise for the owners. But again, there are annoying rules about accountancy people that if you're an accountancy student, you can't own any part of a business.
Yeah, I saw on your website that you'd started your accountancy in 2018. So yeah. Shame on you for studying.
I know.
And then what are the key variables in valuing a business? Because I remember, I'm thinking like 2007, where people were mentioning certain types of businesses going for 10, 12, 14 times the amount. And now it feels 3 to 4 might be.
There's been a huge reduction in the multiples that people will pay for businesses in most industries. And every industry is different. There are certain types of businesses that always sell for 1.5 times your annual recurring revenue or 5 to 8 times your EBITDA.
And what's EBITDA?
It's your earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
I forget the last two always.
Yeah. So industries have typical multiples, but of course every business is unique. And even though multiples have come down a lot over time, it will pick up again. There's just cyclical bits of people wanting to risk their cash and how much of a premium they're willing to pay to take on someone that's done the early hard work.
Have you come across different sectors in today's market that are just getting those big valuations compared to the ones that aren't?
Oh, well, I think like most things now, anything to do with AI is going for very, very big multiples right now. And a lot of that is because no one really knows what the potential is. So you can get a bit of a bidding war started and things like that. Whereas a lot of your more traditional industries are being hurt a little bit more.
And so what things are affecting these multiples and valuations?
Not the multiples so much, but often what the multiples are based on, which is your base finances. So you and I, we run our own businesses. We can do things like take a small salary and take a lot out in pensions or dividends. When someone else is buying your company, they make all these adjustments to your historic profit and loss to say, yeah, but if you actually had a CEO, what would you have paid them? Or if you had any exceptional items, either good or bad, they get taken out when they do a valuation. So they're really concerned with your consistent and ongoing trading value. So they always strip out exceptional things. And also another thing that can affect it, most valuations are done on a combination of your historic and your projections, with the historic being given more certainty and therefore they don't try and fight it too much. But your projections are quite often pushed down. So if you can not just say, I'm going to grow my sales by 10% a year, or I'm going to get X% of this next market we're opening. If you've got anything in writing or offers, anything that can back up your projections, you get a much stronger valuation. They won't discount your projections so much.
Thinking about looking as good as possible, so those contracts are going to help. Is there anything else to attract potential buyers that can help?
Yes. Because the process is generally quite hard and long, and you get lawyers involved and other people, and everyone's looking for holes to pick, the more you can simplify things, the more attractive you are, the less friction there is on the deal, you're less likely to get pipped towards the end. So if I've got a client now who has her business split between a couple of different entities, she's got her trademark held personally, it's very hard to even describe it to a potential buyer. So one of the things we're looking to do is to simplify it, bring it all into a group, move the trademarks in. You want to make it easily understandable and simple, and in a way that people can't poke holes.
And is it like dating? You just have to be prepared to have your heart broken?
Yes. It is very rare that the first person you talk to or even decide you want to buy your business is the one that does. Yes.
And do you think you should consider the moral factor of selling that? Are you putting the business in the hands of somebody capable for your clients?
Yeah, for your clients and for your employees.
Yeah.
For most people that run businesses, we feel an incredible sense of responsibility towards our employees and our customers. So making sure that you've got the right structure in place for them. I mentioned earlier EMIs. That's a great thing to put in place before you sell your business. And
because that protects the employees
and gives them a part of the upside of the sale. And EMIs are just brilliantly tax effective ways of giving small percents to employees. It doesn't work if you're going to give away 50% of your business to someone, but that's a great way to protect them. And again, for your customers, yes, if I don't know anyone, I've never come across anyone that would sell their business to someone that they know is just going to rape and pillage the assets and get rid of it. But it's really important to talk about with your potential buyers what you want for your customers. Most of the time, you'll stay working in the business for a while, even after you've sold it.
What do you see, like 3-4 years?
I've never seen any as long as 4. Okay. Of course, it's possible, but it's usually minimum a year. Okay. 3 is really, really common. And so you're going to have to be working with those customers. And one of the big reasons they keep you on is to smooth over that process. Yeah. So if you know your buyer is going to be giving a subpar service or increase the prices too much, you're the one that's going to have to explain that probably.
Yeah, and it feels very personal.
Very.
When it's your business. And then talking about customers and employees, are there things you can do to sort of preempt any problems and to smooth out that transition between your business and it being sold?
Well, It's very tough in the process of selling because you should never tell your staff that you're doing it. It is so disruptive.
Yeah.
And it will honestly take you as the business owner selling it. It's like another full-time job to manage the process. And you need to spend some time hiding that and doing that away from the office. It's difficult. So you want to create as little disturbance as possible. Also, you may want to sell in 6 months. It might take 18 months, and that will leave people very unsettled if it doesn't happen. So it's very important to keep the business as usual going. And if it means you need to bring in a general manager or a kind of another layer of management you might not have had before, it's well worth it.
Yeah. And I suppose if people are unsettled, they leave, and then no one's going to buy what's the word? A sinking ship.
Yeah. And you also need those people around you more than ever at this time, because you really won't be able to spend as much time in the business as you have before.
And are you able to share with us any of the success stories to motivators that you've had over the years?
A lot of it is really confidential, but I'll tell you one of the funnier sales stories we had. It was a technology company. It was the second company these guys had started. We had helped them shut down their first company using the great old entrepreneurs relief tax benefits. And they started a completely different business, got a lot of great investment in. And after a while, we're looking to sell it. And one of the people they were talking to was Apple. And Apple ended up doing an acqui-hire.
What does that mean?
It's a combination of an acquisition hire.
Do you know, my mind went to like water, aqua. I was like, what does that mean?
It's probably also the American accent. It was essentially a purchase to acquire 2 employees. Apple hires very few people in one of these divisions, maybe 1 a year. They hired 2. And in order to hire them, they bought out the entire business.
Insane.
And paid off every single investor.
So these must have been amazing at something very, very particular.
Yes.
Well done them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Heather. It's been so insightful. And I just wanted to remind everyone that you and I are going to do a webinar together. So if this has sparked any interest, then we're going to do a session probably for about half an hour, 45 minutes, talking about some of these key things that you go through with your clients.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.